The movie begins in a house where a woman named Laura is calling out to her children. She then goes to the bathroom and begins to cry, showing that something is seriously wrong. Later, Laura takes her two children, 17-year-old Aiden and 12-year-old Mia, to visit their estranged father, Richard. When they arrive, Richard tells Laura that they should finalize their divorce and that he and his new girlfriend Grace are engaged and plan to marry in the fall. At first, Laura seems happy, but she suddenly storms out and returns home, where she does the unthinkable by blowing her brains out. Laura's death leaves her two children deeply traumatized, and a church funeral is held for her. Everyone is heartbroken, but Mia is inconsolable because, as part of a devout Catholic family, she believes Laura will not enter heaven for taking her own life. Still grieving, Aiden goes into Mia's room and lies beside her to comfort her. 6 months later during Thanksgiving, Richard tells his children they will spend Christmas with Grace at the family's remote lodge in rural western Massachusetts to get to know her better. However, both Aiden and Mia strongly oppose the idea, blaming Grace for their mother's suicide. Aiden angrily curses at Richard for choosing a psycho over Laura, and it is then revealed that Richard met Grace while researching a book about an extremist religious cult. That night, Aiden and Mia use Richard's computer to read an article about Grace's past, which includes disturbing video footage of the cult. Grace had been a member of the group led by her father, where all the followers except her ended their lives so she could survive and continue spreading the cult's teachings. Photos show the members blindfolded, with tape across their mouths marked with the word sin. Suddenly, Richard interrupts them, and Aiden lies, saying he was only using the computer to help Mia with her homework. Although Richard knows about Grace's past, he and Grace want the children to understand that she has left it behind and is trying to live a normal life. The next day, the kids join Richard and Grace on their trip to the remote lodge, bringing along Grace's dog, Grady. When Richard steps away to take a call, Grace makes a genuine effort to connect with Aiden and Mia, but they remain distant and cold toward her. That night, after they arrive and settle in, the family has dinner. Mia leads a short prayer, and shortly afterward, Grace experiences a sudden nosebleed. Later, Grace and Richard become intimate in the next room, which the kids overhear. The following morning, everyone goes outside to the frozen lake. Grace watches from a window before deciding to join them, but the kids become upset when they see her wearing a hat that belonged to Laura. Since their mother's death, Mia has carried around a doll dressed to look like Laura. While playing with it near the lake, she drops it into the water and tries to retrieve it. Grace pulls her back to safety and tries to get the doll herself, but the ice breaks, and she falls through. Richard rushes over, manages to pull her out, and takes her inside to warm up. Later, Grace secretly takes her antipsychotic medication, trying to hide it from Richard. Soon after, Richard receives a call and must return to the city for work, leaving Grace alone with the children for a few days. Before leaving, he shows her where he keeps a locked handgun, just in case, and teaches her how to use it. The next day, Richard drives to the city, leaving Grace in charge of the children. Grace continues trying to befriend Aiden and Mia, but they keep shunning her or responding rudely. Over time, she starts to bond a little with Mia, talking to her and even watching TV together, but Grace becomes uncomfortable when the film is about Richard's family. That night, while eating alone, Grace feels uneasy because of the large amount of Catholic iconography in the cabin. This triggers disturbing nightmares, including flashbacks of dead cult members lying in ritualistic positions as she watches the children sleep. Grace wakes up on the floor to find that items in her bedroom have been rearranged. She also discovers Mia's doll in her drawer. When Mia notices her doll is missing and tells Grace, she directs Mia to where Grady is, and Mia finds her doll there. One day, after taking a shower, Grace catches Aiden secretly watching her. The next morning at breakfast, Aiden continues to give her a hard time, making it clear she can never replace their mother. Grace calls him out and scolds him for spying on her while she was showering. After being reprimanded, Aiden's attitude softens, and one night he prepares Grace a cup of cocoa while she and Mia watch movies. However, Aiden secretly drugs the drink. Later, he decides to use a gas heater indoors, and Grace questions whether it is safe. As Grace falls asleep, she dreams of standing on the frozen pond. Suddenly, the ice breaks, and she plunges into the water, where she sees her father pulling her down, trying to drown her. When she wakes up, Grace discovers that everything they brought to the house, including clothes, food, Christmas decorations, and her medication, is mysteriously missing. A snowstorm rages outside, leaving them trapped, and the electricity has gone out, including their phones. Grace suspects the children are playing a cruel prank, but she soon realizes their belongings are missing too.
Where's my doll?
Around the cabin, she notices strange things, like clocks being moved forward to a later date, and the word, repent, written on a mirror. Shortly afterward, Grady also goes missing, and as days pass, Grace becomes increasingly anxious from the lack of medication, the freezing cold, and hunger. She thinks she hears Mia talking on the phone and bursts into the room to confront her, only to find the phone is dead and Mia was only pretending. Other disturbing things happen. Grace hears the voice of her father preaching sermons, and without her medication, she begins sleepwalking and seeing frightening visions. Aiden then tells her he had a dream that the gas heater malfunctioned and killed them all, and he believes they are already dead. Church music puts Grace into a trance, and she envisions Aiden as one of the dead cult members. When she snaps out of it, she accidentally strikes Mia and suddenly finds herself holding Richard's handgun. She notices the clock now shows January 9th, and she tries to leave for town to get help but becomes lost in the snow. She wanders through the cold until she finds a small cabin shaped like a cross, but is unable to get inside. She then sees what looks like her father calling to her. Eventually, she makes her way back to the lodge, where she discovers a framed picture of Aiden and Mia with the words "in loving memory."
What is this?
Inside, she finds the children praying over a newspaper article claiming all three of them died from carbon monoxide poisoning on December 22, 2019. Furious, Grace tries to stop them from praying, insisting they are not dead, but Aiden keeps saying they are. Later, she finds Aiden hanging from a rope, but he is unharmed, trying to prove they are already in purgatory. Grace finally breaks down and wanders outside in the snow, walking on her knees while praying. When she returns, she is carrying Grady, who has frozen to death. This devastates Mia, who blames herself for leaving the door open, allowing the dog to escape. Now fully convinced they are in purgatory, Grace believes the only way to ascend to heaven is to repent for their sins. She spends the entire night outside praying, ignoring Mia's pleas to return inside. Grace enters a catatonic state, still believing they are dead, and later, the children find her in front of the fireplace, burning her knees as she prays. They start to feel concern for her as it becomes clear they had been gaslighting her the entire time, stealing her medication, hiding belongings in a crawlspace, faking Aiden's hanging, and playing recordings of her father's voice to push her into madness. With their own phones now dead, the children try to start the generator and return Grace's medication, but she is too far gone, convinced they must repent to be accepted by God and reach heaven. Now terrified of Grace, the siblings lock themselves in the attic. The next morning, Mia goes to the bathroom, and on her way back, she encounters Grace and quickly runs. Meanwhile, Richard, who is concerned after not hearing from Grace, decides to drive to the cabin. Inside, Grace enters the attic holding the gun and tells the frightened children that everyone must sacrifice something for the Lord. She then sets fire to Mia's doll of Laura. As the children cry, Grace tells them to trust her and prepares to fire the gun, just as Richard arrives. Richard rushes inside and confronts Grace on the staircase. Grace insists that God is punishing them for their sins and claims she is in purgatory. Richard tries to reason with her, telling her she isn't dead. To prove her belief, Grace first fires the gun at herself, but no bullet comes out. Convinced this means she cannot die because she is already in the afterlife, she turns the gun on Richard and shoots him in the head, killing him instantly. The children rush to Richard's body in shock before running outside to escape. Aiden tries to start Richard's car, but it is stuck in the snow. Grace catches up to them and forces them back into the cabin. She drags Richard's body to the dining table and, at gunpoint, makes the sobbing children sit in adjacent chairs, and she forces them to sing a religious hymn with her. Then, Grace begins duct taping Aiden and Mia's mouths, preparing them for a ritualistic murder-suicide like her father's cult, as the movie ends. Okay guys, that's all the recap about The Lodge from 2019. Thanks for watching, see you again in the next video.